Imagine spending your own money to build a road on your own land, and then having someone tell you that you need to pay them $300 every time you want to use it. Your own road. On your own property. Sounds insane, right? Well, that's exactly what happened to me. And when I fought back, I didn't just win. I legally destroyed the HOA so thoroughly that they're still trying to recover. My name is Jordan, and this is the story of how I built a road, got extorted, and ended up teaching an HOA a lesson they'll never forget. Let me take you back to where this all started, about a year ago. My wife Casey and I bought this incredible piece of property. 5 acres on the outskirts of a growing town called Greenfield. It was perfect. Wooded, private, with a small cleared area where we planned to build our dream home. The property was part of a larger development called Oak Ridge Estates, but our lot was at the very end, bordering state forest land. Here's the thing though. Our property didn't have direct access to the main road. To get to it, you had to drive through about a quarter mile of what was designated as common area by the HOA. There was a dirt trail there, barely maintained, full of ruts and puddles. During spring it was basically impassable. When we bought the property, the HOA documents mentioned that lot owners had access rights through the common area to reach their properties. Fine. Made sense. We spent the first few months planning our build, working with architects, getting permits. During this time, I'd drive out to the property regularly in my truck to check on things, meet with contractors, whatever. That dirt trail was a nightmare every single time. Bottomed out my truck twice, got stuck once in the mud. So I made a decision. I was going to build a proper road. Now here's the important part. The road wouldn't just be on the HOA common area. The majority of it would actually be on my property. See, our 5 acres extended pretty far back from the common area boundary. My plan was to build a gravel road that started at the edge of my property line where it met the common area, and then wound through my land to where our house site was. I hired a surveyor to mark exactly where my property started. Had stakes put in, got it all documented. Then I hired a contractor to build the road. Proper grading, drainage, compacted gravel base, the whole thing. Cost me, God, almost $30,000. But it would be worth it. Good access for construction, for us moving in eventually, for everything. The contractor started work in April. It took about 3 weeks. And let me tell you, it was beautiful. This nice, wide, well-graded gravel road. Proper drainage on both sides. Built to last. I was proud of it, honestly. Even improved the last little bit of that common area trail that connected to my road, made it more stable. Figured it was good neighborly behavior. Then, I got the letter. It came from the HOA board president, a guy named Donald. Formal letterhead, the whole 9 yards. Dear Mr. Kemp, it has come to our attention that you have constructed an unauthorized access road through HOA common property. As per our covenants, any improvements to common areas require board approval and are subject to maintenance fees. Effective immediately, usage of this road requires a quarterly access fee of $300. Please remit payment within 15 days. Failure to comply will result in restricted access and potential legal action. I read it 3 times. Casey read it over my shoulder. They're charging us to use a road we built, she said. A road that's 90% on our property, I added, feeling my blood pressure rising. I immediately called Donald. He answered on the 3rd ring, his voice way too chipper. Jordan. Got my letter, I see. Donald, what is this? I built that road on my own property with my own money. Well, yes and no. The road does cross through a section of common area at the entrance. That section falls under HOA jurisdiction. It's maybe 50 feet of common area. The rest is my land. Doesn't matter. Any access road through common property is subject to our fees. It's in the bylaws. I felt anger bubbling up. Show me. Show me where in the bylaws it says that. Section 7, subsection 4. Access roads and driveways through common areas are considered shared infrastructure and subject to quarterly maintenance assessments. Maintenance assessments for a road I built and I maintain? His tone got condescending. Jordan, this is how HOAs work. We have rules. The rules exist to protect everyone's interests and property values. You should have gotten approval before building. I didn't need approval. It's my property. But it accesses through our common area. Look, I don't make the rules. I just enforce them. $300 per quarter. That's $1,200 a year. Very reasonable for road access. Reasonable? I spent $30,000 building it. And it's a very nice road. I'm sure you'll be happy to pay the nominal fee to use it. I hung up before I said something I'd regret. Casey looked at me. What are we going to do? I'm calling a lawyer. I got in touch with a property attorney named Marcus. Explained the whole situation. He asked me to send him my property deed, the HOA bylaws, and any documentation about the road. 2 days later he called me back. Jordan, this is interesting. So, the HOA is claiming authority over your road because a small portion crosses common area. That's what they're saying. Okay, here's the thing. They technically do have some authority over improvements in common areas. But, there's a problem with their approach. They're trying to charge you a fee for using something you built. That's not a maintenance assessment. That's more like a toll. And HOAs generally don't have the authority to charge tolls. So what do I do? Marcus paused. How opposed would you be to not using that section of common area at all? What do you mean? I mean, what if you built your access road entirely on your own property? No common area involved whatsoever? I thought about it. I'd have to connect directly to the public road. But that's on the opposite side of my property from where the common area is. Would it be possible? I mean, yeah. It'd be longer, more expensive, but it's possible. There's a county road that borders my property on the east side. Then that's what I'd recommend. Build a new access road entirely on your property, connecting to the public road. Then you don't need the HOA's common area at all. They can't charge you fees for a road that doesn't touch their property. It was brilliant. Expensive and frustrating, but brilliant. Do it legally. Get county approval for the access point to the public road, pull all the right permits, document everything. Then tell the HOA to pound sand. I love this lawyer. Over the next month, I worked with the county to get approval for a new driveway access point on the east side of my property. Had to have a traffic study done, install proper culverts, get engineering sign-off. The county was actually great about it. Approved everything within 3 weeks. Then I hired the contractor again. Built a brand new access road, entirely on my property connecting to the county road. This one cost another $25,000. But you know what? Worth every penny. The day it was finished, I drove out there with Casey. We drove up the new road, parked at our building site, and just smiled. Then I sent an email to Donald. Donald, thank you for bringing the access fee issue to my attention. After consulting with my attorney, I've decided to eliminate any potential compliance issues by building a new access road entirely on my property, connecting directly to the county road. As this new road does not utilize any HOA common area, no access fees will be applicable. The previous road section through the common area will no longer be used by me. Feel free to maintain it however you see fit. Best regards, Jordan. I got a response within an hour. Jordan, you can't just build a new road without board approval. This needs to be reviewed. I replied immediately. Donald, the road is entirely on my private property and connects to a public county road. The HOA has no jurisdiction over it. No approval needed. Thanks. His next email was less polite. You are still required to pay HOA fees for property access infrastructure. My response was simple. I don't use your infrastructure. I use my own. On my own land. Then, silence for about a week. I thought maybe that was it. Maybe he'd realized they had no leg to stand on. I was wrong. The next thing I got was a certified letter from the HOA's attorney, a guy named Richard Stern. The letter stated that by creating unauthorized secondary access to my property, I was in violation of covenants. It claimed that all property access must go through the designated common area access points, and that my new road constituted an unpermitted material alteration to property use patterns. They were demanding I stop using the new road, pay the access fees for the old road, and pay an additional $5,000 in fines for the violation. I called Marcus immediately. They're saying I can't use a road on my own property that connects to a public road? Marcus actually laughed. They're saying what now? I read him the letter. Jordan, that's insane. They have zero authority to tell you how to access your property from a public road. Zero. That's not how property rights work. This is getting into restraint of trade territory, possibly even antitrust issues if they're trying to force you to use only their access point. So what do? We respond. Firmly. And if they want to push this, we let them. Because they're going to lose. Badly. Marcus drafted a response that was beautiful. Legal language that basically said, my client has every right to access his property from a public road via his own land. Your attempt to restrict this is without legal merit and potentially actionable. Cease and desist immediately. We sent it. Donald called me directly this time. He was angry. Jordan, you're being unreasonable. We have rules in this community. Your rules don't extend to public roads and private property, Donald. You're part of this HOA. You agreed to the covenants when you bought. Show me where in the covenants it says I can't build a driveway on my own land to a public road. Silence. That's what I thought, I continued. Drop this, Donald. You're not going to win. We'll see about that, he said and hung up. 3 weeks later, I was served with a lawsuit. The HOA was suing me for violations of covenants, demanding I cease using the new road, pay all back access fees, pay fines, and pay their attorney fees. Casey was worried. Can they do this? This is going to cost us a fortune in legal fees. Marcus was less concerned. They can sue. They're going to lose. And when they do, we're countersuing for harassment, legal fees, and we're going to ask the court to issue an injunction preventing them from any further interference with your property rights. The case took 4 months to get to court. During that time, the HOA continued to harass me. They sent violation notices for everything. My construction materials were improperly stored. My truck was parked in a non-designated area. They claimed I was creating erosion issues with my road. All nonsense. All documented. All adding to my case. Court day finally came. County Courthouse, Civil Division. The HOA showed up with Donald, 2 other board members, and their attorney Richard Stern, who looked very expensive and very confident. We had Marcus. Just Marcus. And a box full of documents. The judge was an older guy, Judge William Patterson, who had this look on his face like he'd rather be anywhere else. Stern presented the HOA's case first. Made it sound like I was some rogue property owner, violating sacred community covenants, creating chaos, refusing to follow rules. He talked about community standards, uniform access policies, the importance of HOA authority. He showed photos of my new road. Made it sound like I'd built the highway to hell. Then it was our turn. Marcus stood up, calm as could be. Your Honor, this case is remarkably simple. My client owns 5 acres of land. He built a driveway on his land connecting to a public county road. The HOA is attempting to prevent him from using his own property to access a public road. That's the case. He pulled out a map. Here is my client's property in green. Here is the county road in yellow. Here is the driveway entirely within the green area connecting to the yellow road. At no point does this driveway cross HOA property. Judge Patterson looked at the map. Counselor Stern, where's the violation? Stern stood. Your Honor, the covenants require that property access utilize the designated common area access points. All residents must. Must access from where? The judge interrupted. From the common area trail that. But Mr. Kemp has access from a public road. On his own property. Yes, but the covenants establish a uniform access policy. Judge Patterson held up his hand. Let me stop you there. Are you arguing that the HOA can prevent a property owner from accessing his land from a public road? Stern hesitated. We're arguing that the covenants require. I know what you're arguing. I'm asking if you understand how property rights work. You can't prevent someone from using their own land to access a public road. That's not how covenants work. They govern use of property, not access to public infrastructure. Stern tried again. Your Honor, the concern is that allowing secondary access points disrupts the community's planned access structure and what? The judge's voice had an edge now. Creates competition for your mandatory access fees? Boom. The judge got it. Stern went pale. Your Honor, the fees are for maintenance. Maintenance of what? A road Mr. Kemp built with his own money? On his own land? Marcus jumped in. Your Honor, if I may. The HOA attempted to charge my client $300 quarterly to use a road he built himself. When he solved that problem by building access entirely on his own property, they sued him to force him to use only their access point and pay their fees. This isn't about covenants. This is about an HOA trying to extract fees from a trapped property owner. Judge Patterson looked at Donald. Sir, you're the board president? Donald stood nervously. Yes, Your Honor. Explain to me why your association believes it can charge someone to use a road they built. Donald stammered. Well, it goes through our common area and we have maintenance costs. Does the HOA maintain that road? Well, no, Mr. Kemp built it, but... So you're charging him to use something he built and maintains? It's in our common area. 50 feet of it, Marcus interjected. The rest is on his property. The judge shook his head slowly. And when he solved that problem by building entirely on his own property, you sued him? Donald didn't answer. Judge Patterson looked at the documents in front of him for a long moment. Then he looked up. Here's my ruling. The plaintiff's case is dismissed with prejudice. Mr. Kemp has every right to access his property from a public road via his own land. The HOA's attempt to restrict this is without merit and, frankly, appears to be an attempt to force payment of fees for services not rendered. Stern tried to object. Your Honor, I'm not finished. Furthermore, I'm granting the defendant's countersuit. The HOA is ordered to pay Mr. Kemp's legal fees in full. Additionally, I'm issuing a permanent injunction prohibiting the HOA from any further interference with Mr. Kemp's use of his access road or any future harassment related to this matter. If they violate this injunction, they'll be in contempt. He banged his gavel. We're done. The courtroom was silent. Donald looked like he'd been punched. Stern was packing up his briefcase quickly, clearly wanting to get out of there. Marcus and I stood up. He was trying not to grin too much. Outside the courthouse, Casey hugged me. You did it? You actually did it? We did it, I corrected. Marcus shook my hand. Congratulations. That was about as clean a win as it gets. And that injunction? That's gold. They can't touch you now. But the story, it doesn't end there. A week after the judgment, I got a call from a woman named Patricia. She owned another lot in Oak Ridge Estates, 3 properties down from mine. Jordan? Hi, I'm Patricia. I heard about your court case. I need to ask you something. That road you built? The one entirely on your property to the county road? Yeah. Would you consider letting other property owners use it? The HOA is now charging everyone $300 quarterly for that common area trail access. They're saying it's mandatory. Some of us can't afford it. I thought about it. How many people are we talking? 6 properties including mine. We're all at the end of the development, same situation as you. An idea formed. A beautiful, legally devastating idea. Patricia, let me talk to my lawyer and get back to you. I called Marcus. How would you feel about creating a private road association? Something separate from the HOA, just for the backlot owners. Marcus was quiet for a moment. You want to build an alternative access system and let other owners buy in? Exactly. Cut the HOA completely out of the access business. That's brilliant. And perfectly legal. You'd need to form a separate entity, get easement agreements, probably expand your road to handle the traffic. But yeah, you could do it. Let's do it. Over the next 2 months, I worked with Patricia and the other 5 backlot owners. We formed a private road association, completely separate from the HOA. I granted easements across my property for the shared access road. We all split the cost of expanding and improving the road to handle multiple properties. Each owner paid a one-time fee of $5,000 to join. That gave us $30,000, which we used to widen the road, add better drainage, and maintain a small fund for future maintenance. And here's the kicker. Our quarterly dues? $50. For actual maintenance. Not $300 for nothing. When Donald found out, he lost his mind. Sent threatening letters saying we were creating an unauthorized subdivision. Claimed we needed HOA approval. Marcus sent back a simple response. My clients are accessing their private properties via a private road on private property with legal easements and county approval. The HOA has no jurisdiction. Reference Judge Patterson's permanent injunction. Any further harassment will be considered contempt of court. That shut him up. But it got better. Once word spread about what we'd done, other property owners in the development started asking questions. Why were they paying HOA fees for services they didn't receive? Why was the HOA trying to charge access fees for a barely maintained dirt trail? A group of homeowners called for a special meeting. Demanded to see the HOA's financials. Turns out, Donald and the board had been inflating maintenance costs, paying themselves management fees, and generally treating the HOA like their personal piggy bank. Within 3 months, Donald and the entire board were voted out. New board came in, cut the ridiculous fees, and actually started maintaining the common areas properly. As for me, my road is beautiful. Gets used by 7 properties now, including mine. It's well maintained, properly lit, and costs us pennies compared to what the HOA wanted to charge. And every time I drive on it, I smile. Because I didn't just win a legal battle. I built an alternative. I showed everyone that you don't have to accept unreasonable fees and overreach. You can build your own road. Here's what I learned from all of this. HOAs can serve a purpose when they're run honestly and fairly. But when they're run by people who see residents as revenue sources rather than community members, when they try to charge you for things you built yourself, when they try to trap you into paying fees you shouldn't have to pay, you fight back. And sometimes fighting back means not fighting at all. It means building around the problem. Creating alternatives. Showing others there's a better way. That $300 quarterly fee Donald wanted? Over the course of 10 years, that would have been $12,000. To use a road I built. Instead, I spent $55,000 building 2 roads, formed a private association, and created a system that's better, cheaper, and completely outside the HOA's control. And Donald? Last I heard, he's facing a recall vote from the remaining homeowners he still has authority over. Turns out when you lose your captive audience, your little empire crumbles pretty fast. So if you're dealing with an HOA that's charging you unreasonable fees, trying to control access to your own property, or just generally overstepping, remember this. Know your property rights. Understand what the HOA can and can't control. And sometimes the best way to win is to build your own road. Literally. Thanks for listening. This is Jordan, signing off from my private road that the HOA can't touch. And yes, it feels amazing.